Greedy landlord coldly locks a desperate single mom out in the pouring rain, tossing her and her child's belongings onto the sidewalk, while neighbors watch in silence, completely unaware that a blacked-out luxury SUV is already turning the corner. Inside sits a feared Mafia boss, a man who built his empire from nothing and has been quietly protecting her from the shadows. And when he steps out into the storm and sees the woman shivering with her child in her arms, the heartless landlord will realize too late that his cruel power play just triggered a reckoning he'll never recover from. The rain wasn't just falling. It was a deluge, a cold, indifferent curtain separating her from the flimsy promise of shelter, each drop a tiny hammer blow against the crumbling facade of everything she'd ever believed about fair play and justice. She was locked out. Her child was inside, alone, terrified, watching her through a rain-streaked window. This isn't just a story about a heartless landlord or a struggling single mom. No, that's the superficial nonsense they feed you. This is about the brutal, inescapable reality that the world you inhabit, the one built on rules and order and hard work, is a meticulously constructed prison, a beautiful lie designed to keep you precisely where they want you, desperate, compliant, and utterly powerless. You think you live in a meritocracy. You believe in the benevolent hand of the law? Pull back the curtain. Look closer. The truth is, your entire existence is governed by a hidden operating system, a matrix of societal lies woven so intricately, so seamlessly, that you mistake its invisible walls for freedom. Every single precept you were taught, work hard, play by the rules, and you'll succeed, is a control mechanism, a lullaby whispered by the powerful to keep the masses docile. This woman, standing drenched and abandoned on her own doorstep, had worked herself to the bone. She'd sacrificed. She'd believed. And for what? For the privilege of being discarded like trash the moment she couldn't meet the arbitrary demands of a system rigged from the start. The landlord, a man who saw only numbers, only contracts, only his own perceived right to enforce a cruel logic, was not some cartoon villain. He was a perfect product of this system, a dutiful agent of the matrix, blindly executing its code without questioning its inherent barbarity. He wasn't evil. He was programmed. He was simply playing the game exactly as he was taught, upholding the sacred, unwritten laws of ownership and consequence that keep millions trapped in a perpetual cycle of fear and dependency. This is not about individual morality. This is about systemic rot. We are all born into this grand illusion, aren't we? We're fed narratives about responsibility, about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, while the boots themselves are tied to someone else's strings. You are told you have options. You are told your vote matters. But then you see moments like this, raw and undeniable, where all those pretty concepts dissolve into the cold reality of a locked door and a mother's silent despair. What good is justice when the mechanism to achieve it costs more than you possess? What good is freedom when the freedom to simply exist requires constant, grueling validation from a system designed to deny it? It's a profound betrayal, a silent scream against the deafening roar of propaganda. Most people refuse to see it. They'd rather cling to the comforting delusion that if only she had worked harder, if only she had saved more, this wouldn't have happened. That's the lie protecting their own fragile sense of security. Don't fall for it. Don't be another pawn in their game. If you're willing to peel back the layers of polite society and stare directly into the abyss of uncomfortable truth, then you understand why these stories demand your attention. This isn't just news. It's a mirror. The system, this omnipresent, invisible hand, demands its pound of flesh. It doesn't care about single mothers, about crying children, about the human cost of its meticulously crafted algorithms. It cares about precedent. It cares about profit. It cares about demonstrating its unwavering power. Every eviction, Every struggle, every tear shed on a cold, wet street corner serves as a chilling reminder. Deviate from the path, fail to meet the impossible demands, and you will be crushed. It's a quiet terror, far more insidious than any monster under the bed. The monster is the very air you breathe, the ground you walk on, the invisible forces that dictate your value, your worth, your right to simply be. And the profound irony? The landlord, believing himself the master of his domain, the enforcer of righteous order, was himself completely oblivious to the far greater, far more chaotic force that was about to descend upon his carefully controlled little world. He was a tiny cog, blinded by his own brief, delegated authority, utterly unaware that the true powers that be were about to send a wrecking ball straight through his perfectly organized facade. He thought he was in control. What a joke. The real game, the one nobody sees, was just getting started. The landlord, a minion, a useful idiot, really. He parades around with his eviction notices, flexing a muscle that isn't his. He's just a hand, puppeteered by strings that vanish into the corporate ether. Who pulls those strings? The banks, the investment funds, the algorithms that care about quarterly returns more than human lives. They weaponize capital. They turn housing into a commodity, not a right. And you, sitting there, scrolling through this, probably think you're safe. Think again. You're just a number in their ledger, a potential default, a future acquisition, your life, your stability, your very peace of mind. All of it is merely data. It's terrifying, isn't it? To realize your existence is just a variable in someone else's profit equation. This isn't some conspiracy theory. It's the cold, hard logic of late-stage capitalism. It's what happens when everything is for sale, and humanity is just inventory. Perhaps you felt that creeping dread, that sense of being unmoored, even if you can't quite name it. That's the system whispering its true intentions. It's the invisible chains tightening around your perceived freedoms. Now, about this real game I mentioned. It's not played with cards or dice. It's played with narratives. It's played with fear. They spin tales of individual responsibility, of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, knowing full well the boots are stuck in quicksand. They tell you success is a matter of effort. A lie. It's a matter of leverage, of inherited advantage, of being born into the right postcode with the right connections, or simply enough capital to weather the inevitable storms. They want you to blame yourself. They need you to internalize failure as a personal flaw, never a systemic breakdown. Because if you truly understood how rigged the game is, how fundamentally unfair the starting line, you'd stop playing. Or worse, you'd demand a new game. And that, my friend, is their biggest fear. They'll throw crumbs, they'll offer minor reforms, but they will never ever dismantle the machinery that extracts wealth from the many to enrich the few. They can't. Their entire empire depends on it. This channel exists to rip off those masks. If you find yourself nodding, if these uncomfortable truths resonate deep within you, if you crave more than the sanitized narratives fed to the masses, then you understand why you belong here. This isn't a place for comfortable lies, it's a sanctuary for inconvenient truths. Join us. Think about the single mother again. Her struggle wasn't about bad choices. It was about a series of deliberate economic policies that devalued her labor, inflated her cost of living, and then stripped away the safety nets designed to catch her fall. Her eviction wasn't an isolated incident. It was a predictable outcome of a system designed for maximum extraction. She was just another data point confirming the efficiency of their cruelty. And the landlord? He's just a proxy, a visible villain to distract from the real architects of her despair. He thought he was dealing with a delinquent tenant. Fool. He was an unwitting participant in a grander theater of financial engineering, a spectacle where human lives are merely collateral damage in the pursuit of ever-expanding capital. He was about to learn that even the enforcers are ultimately expendable. His little world, his petty power, all of it was built on foundations far shakier than he could ever comprehend. His eviction of the single mother was a tiny tremor, a ripple. The earthquake was coming for him. He just didn't see the fault lines forming beneath his own feet. He was so focused on collecting his rent, so blinded by the illusion of his own authority, that he missed the larger picture entirely. The game was accelerating, the stakes were rising, and he, like so many others, was about to be swept away by forces he considered himself immune to. The true masters of the universe, they don't even own properties directly. They own the companies that own the properties. They own the debt that finances the properties. They operate in a realm beyond tangible assets, manipulating the very flow of money itself. They are the architects of the financial matrix, pulling levers in glass towers, completely detached from the human misery their decisions unleash. They play a game of abstract numbers, where millions of lives are just statistical anomalies. You, me, the single mother, the landlord himself, we are all just pieces on their cosmic chessboard. Pieces to be moved, sacrificed, or swept aside. And the most dangerous part? They have convinced most of us that this is just the natural order of things. That inequality is a regrettable but inevitable byproduct of progress. Don't believe it for a second. This is not natural. This is engineered. This is a design, a deliberate, meticulous, and ruthlessly effective design to concentrate power and wealth in fewer and fewer hands. It's a system that actively rewards predatory behavior and punishes compassion. What good is a robust economy if it hollows out the soul of a nation? What good is growth if it only grows the gap between the haves and have-nots? These aren't just philosophical questions. They are the desperate cries of a world on the brink. The illusion of choice, the illusion of opportunity, the illusion of upward mobility. They are all carefully constructed traps. You work harder, you earn more, only to find the finish line has moved further away. You save diligently, only to have inflation eat away at your purchasing power. It's a perpetual treadmill, designed to keep you exhausted, distracted, and too tired to question the fundamental unfairness of it all. And it gets worse. And it gets worse. Because the system, the real one, thrives on your confusion, your exhaustion, your desperation. They don't just want your labor, they want your mind. They inject you with the poison of constant comparison, the relentless pursuit of more, an endless treadmill of consumerism masquerading as freedom. You're told to follow your dreams, but every dream costs money, and that money is designed to become harder to earn, easier to lose. This isn't just bad luck. This is strategic. It's a beautifully constructed illusion, a digital panopticon where financial insecurity keeps you disciplined, keeps you compliant. You borrow, you spend, you chase. The goalposts keep moving. Every time you think you're getting ahead, a new crisis erupts. A new technology renders your skills obsolete, or inflation devours your savings. Poof, gone. You ask, how did this happen? The truth is, it always was. They merely perfected the art. They weaponized debt. They made debt the engine of personal aspiration. Then the chains of indentured servitude. Mortgages, student loans, credit cards, each one a thread in the web that binds you. You think you own your house? Try missing a payment. You think your degree guarantees prosperity? Look around. It's a financial feudalism wrapped in the rhetoric of meritocracy. They tell you to work harder. They tell you to be smarter. They tell you to take risks. They tell you you are responsible for your fate. Lies, all of it. A convenient narrative to deflect from their deliberate orchestration of your struggle. The media, the politicians, the economists, they all parrot the same comforting fictions. Market corrections, economic cycles, supply and demand. These are just euphemisms for the systematic transfer of wealth from the many to the few. Don't fall for it, ever. This isn't abstract theory. This is your life, your rent, your empty fridge. This is the weight on your shoulders. It's a very real, very heavy burden. And if you're ready to peel back another layer of that reality, If you find value in digging deeper than the comfortable lies, then you understand why this channel exists. A quiet commitment to truth is all it asks. Now, consider the infrastructure of control. Central banks, private institutions wielding immense power over national currencies. They print money out of thin air, manipulate interest rates, and dictate the flow of capital, all under the guise of managing the economy. Managing it for whom, exactly? Certainly not for the average person whose savings are eroded, whose wages stagnate, whose future feels perpetually out of reach. They are the high priests of the modern monetary cult, their pronouncements absolute, their actions opaque. Their decisions ripple outwards, crashing through entire industries, wiping out pensions, or inflating bubbles that inevitably burst, leaving devastation in their wake. Yet they remain untouchable, accountable to no one but themselves and the select few who profit most from their machinations. And what about technology? The shiny new tools we all embrace? They are not neutral. They are extensions of this very system. Social media, designed to capture your attention, sell your data, and shape your perceptions. Algorithms that decide what you see, what you hear, what you think is important. They foster division. They amplify outrage. They create echo chambers because a divided populace is a distracted populace. A distracted populace is a controllable populace. They weaponize your own biases against you, feeding you narratives that reinforce your fear, your anger, your isolation. You scroll, you consume, you react. Your focus drifts from the real architects of your discomfort. They want you busy. They want you exhausted. They want you arguing with each other, not questioning them. This isn't some grand conspiracy theory conjured in a dark basement. This is plain sight economics. This is a cold, hard, historical fact. Look at the financial crises. Look at the bailouts. Who profited? Who paid? It was never you, was it? It was always them. And it always will be. Unless we collectively rip off the mask. They are not benevolent overseers. They are ruthless predators. They don't just win the game. They own the game board. They write the rules. And they even decide who gets to play. Your choices are just carefully curated options within their predefined parameters. Wake up, see the strings, feel the tug. This isn't progress, it's calculated subjugation. This isn't progress, it's calculated subjugation. And where do you think this subjugation begins? It starts the moment you are born, with the very air you breathe, the stories you're told, the institutions you're forced to trust. They built a matrix, a sprawling, invisible architecture of control, where every pillar, every beam, every flickering light is designed to keep you in line, to keep you productive, to keep you oblivious. They don't want you to wake up. They cannot afford it. Look at the education system. You believe it's about enlightenment? About fostering critical thought? Such beautiful naivety. The reality is far darker. It's an assembly line, a conditioning program running for decades, designed not to make you truly intelligent, but obedient, to standardize your thoughts, to prune your natural curiosity, replacing it with a relentless pursuit of grades, certifications, and hollow praise. You learn to follow instructions. You learn to sit still. You learn to prioritize memorization over genuine understanding, because a compliant worker is infinitely more valuable to them than an independent thinker. They teach you what to think, never how to truly think for yourself. They tell you there's only one path to success, theirs. And you, conditioned from kindergarten, walk it blindly, never once glancing at the myriad paths deliberately hidden from view. You chase the carrot. They hold the stick. And then there's the healthcare system. Don't even start with the illusion of wellness. This isn't a health system. It's a sickness system. A multi-trillion-dollar behemoth that thrives on your chronic ailments, your managed symptoms, your lifelong dependency on their manufactured solutions. Think about it. Where is the profit in a truly healthy population? There is none. The real money lies in treating the symptoms, not eradicating the cause. It's a recurring subscription model for your own body, transforming you from a vibrant, self-healing organism into a pharmaceutical-dependent patient, carefully cataloged and managed. Your doctor? Often a well-meaning but overworked cog in a system designed to push pills and procedures, dictated by insurance companies and corporate bottom lines. Your true well-being is secondary. Their profits, paramount. They tell you to trust the experts, the white coats, the official pronouncements. But I ask you, who funds the research? Who benefits from the endless cycles of illness? It's rarely you. Now consider the very structure of your daily life. Your job, that 8-to-5 grind, trading your most precious resource, your time, your energy, your very life force, for a fraction of the value you produce. You call it a career. They call it human capital. You are an asset, a disposable one, at that. They pit you against your colleagues, incentivize ruthless competition, all while preaching teamwork and corporate loyalty. Loyalty to whom? To the very system that siphons your surplus value year after year, enriching a tiny fraction at the very top. You're told to work harder, to climb the ladder, to sacrifice everything for a future that consistently recedes the closer you get. This isn't ambition. It's an elaborate treadmill. A hamster wheel, perfectly calibrated to keep you running, exhausted, and too preoccupied to ever look up and ask, why am I doing this? This entire construct, this elaborate simulation of freedom and opportunity, is reinforced daily by the narratives piped directly into your brain. Media, entertainment, social trends, they are not benign. They are carefully crafted instruments of social engineering, shaping your desires, defining your fears, dictating what is cool, successful, or desirable. You buy the clothes, the cars, the gadgets, not because you truly need them, but because they're algorithms. Their advertisers, their entire cultural machinery has convinced you these things are essential to your identity, to your happiness. It's an endless loop of manufactured aspiration and fleeting satisfaction, designed to keep you consuming, to keep you chasing, to keep you distracted from the gaping void of unfulfilled potential within you. They tell you happiness is external. It's a purchase, a status symbol, a validation from strangers on a screen. This is the ultimate lie of the Matrix, that your self-worth is determined by the artificial metrics they have created. You think you are making free choices, but your options are just carefully curated menus within their restaurant. Your freedom is the illusion of choosing between Pepsi and Coke, while the fundamental ingredient, the source of the sugar, the control of the supply chain, remains firmly in their hands. They own the narrative. They own the infrastructure. They own the systems that underpin your very existence. Your economic choices are confined within a system designed to extract wealth from you, not to empower you. Your political choices are between two sides of the same coin, each funded by the same special interests, each beholden to the same puppeteers. They offer you the illusion of agency while silently tightening the chains. This is the deeper truth you must grasp. Almost everything you've been taught, almost every institution you've been told to trust, every societal norm you've accepted, serves a purpose far beyond its stated intention. It's all part of the grand design, a subtle, pervasive mechanism of control, keeping you in your box, your lane, your designated role. They don't need overt oppression when they can achieve total compliance through engineered consent, through manufactured ignorance, through the relentless hum of distraction. They have built your reality. Now, the only question is, are you ready to see beyond it? Are you ready to admit that the world you inhabit, the one you've been told is real, is in fact a carefully constructed illusion? You think you're smart enough to see through it. You are not. They are smarter. They built the schools. They designed the tests. They set the curriculum. Not to teach you how to think, but what to think. Remember when you learned about history? Whose history was it, really? The victors. Always. This isn't just about bending facts. It's about omitting entire chapters, entire truths. Take, for instance, the genesis of public education itself. It wasn't born from a sudden surge of philanthropic zeal to enlighten the masses. No, it emerged from an industrial imperative. Powerful industrialists in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, they needed compliant workers. Punctual, obedient cogs for their rapidly expanding machines. So they funded the creation of a school system modeled on the factory floor. Bells, standardized schedules, rote memorization. Line up, sit down, repeat after me. We weren't educating innovators. We were mass-producing drones. Think about that. You spent 12 years, maybe more, in a system that fundamentally wasn't designed to set you free, but to slot you neatly into a pre-existing economic structure. Does that feel like freedom to you? Does that feel like genuine self-discovery? Or does it feel like a very sophisticated, very pervasive training program? You've been conditioned, hardwired. From the earliest days, the stories they tell you, the heroes they celebrate, the villains they demonize, it's all a carefully constructed narrative, a psychological operation on a scale you can barely comprehend. They don't just want your money. They want your mind. They want your belief. They want your consent to their version of reality. They want you to police yourself, to enforce their rules without even realizing you're doing it. That's the true genius of their system. It's a cage with invisible bars. You can't touch them. You can't see them. But you sure as hell feel them every time you try to step outside the lines. You can't see them, but you sure as hell feel them every time you try to step outside the lines. You feel it when you question the prescribed path, when you dare to wonder if your 9-to-5 existence, your neatly planned mortgage, your culturally approved vacations are truly what you want, or just what you were told to want. It's a subtle pressure, an insidious whisper in the back of your mind, warning you of the social cost of deviation. Conform. Assimilate. Don't rock the boat. This isn't just about economic control. It's about spiritual subjugation. Now, think about the media. Every screen, every headline, every carefully crafted storyline. It's not just entertainment. It's indoctrination. It's the constant reinforcement of their values, their heroes, their definition of success and failure. You scroll through endless feeds, absorbing narratives designed to shape your aspirations, to dictate your anxieties. They tell you what to fear. They tell you what to desire. They even tell you what to be outraged about. And you, the unwitting participant, echo these sentiments, believing them to be your own original thoughts. It's genius, truly. They've outsourced their propaganda to your own conscience. You become the enforcer, the echo chamber, without ever realizing you're just a node in their vast network. Perhaps you think this is hyperbole. You think you're too smart for that. I sincerely doubt it. The system is designed to catch everyone, especially the ones who think they're above it. They feed your ego just enough to keep you complacent, to make you believe your small rebellions are genuine acts of defiance, rather than just another pre-approved path within the larger labyrinth. Your individuality? A branding exercise. Your unique perspectives? Carefully curated subsets of acceptable thought. You believe you're choosing your own destiny. You're choosing from a menu they wrote. Consider the very idea of making it. What does that even mean in their world? Wealth accumulation? Status symbols? The approval of the very institutions that restrict you? Success, as defined by them, is merely mastering the rules of their game. It's proving your worth within their cage. And what happens if you refuse to play? What happens if you try to build your own game, with your own rules? The system, so benevolent in its invitation to conform, becomes suddenly, brutally clear in its enforcement. Resources dry up, opportunities vanish, social stigma descends. That's not freedom. That's a well-managed prison yard. Here's the reality. True freedom is terrifying to them, unpredictable, ungovernable. It's why they've spent centuries perfecting methods to domesticate the human spirit. Education, media, consumerism, politics, all interlocked, a seamless web. You're taught to value stability over adventure, security over self-discovery, comfort over truth. And when you finally chase that elusive comfort, you find yourself tethered, dependent, a willing participant in your own quiet subjugation. That mortgage, that car loan, those monthly subscriptions, they're not just financial obligations. They're psychological anchors, keeping you rooted firmly within their designed reality. They don't need overt oppression anymore. They have something far more powerful: manufactured consent. They've convinced you that this is the way things are. This is normal. This is progress. And if you dissent, well, you're just crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're difficult. The most insidious part is how we police each other, how we shame those who dare to question the narrative. We've internalized their control so deeply that we become their unpaid enforcers, turning on our own kind for the sin of independent thought. You, watching this, probably feel a flicker of recognition, a sense of unease. Good. That's the invisible bars vibrating. That's your intuition screaming. But what will you do with it? Will you dismiss it as just another crazy video? Will you scroll to the next distraction, back into the manufactured reality? Or will you finally acknowledge the cold, hard truth that your life, your aspirations, even your deepest beliefs have been shaped, guided, and in many ways dictated by forces far older, far smarter, and far more powerful than you could ever imagine? The choice, or the illusion of one, is yours. That flicker of recognition you felt? That's not paranoia. It's memory. It's the whisper of a self long suppressed, stirring beneath layers of manufactured contentment. You've been programmed, intricately and meticulously, since the day you drew breath. Every institution, every tradition you revered, every truth you swallowed without question, it was a brick in your invisible cell wall. The education system didn't teach you to think. It taught you what to think, how to obey, how to fit. The media didn't inform. It curated your reality, fed you emotions, dictated your fears and desires. Consumerism didn't offer choice. It offered endless chains, each linking you tighter to a system that thrives on your perpetual craving, your engineered dissatisfaction. Politics wasn't about representation. It was a grand puppet show, distracting you with tribal conflicts while the real power consolidates silently, relentlessly behind the curtain. Don't tell me you haven't felt it. Don't lie to yourself. The pervasive feeling that something is fundamentally off, that the promised land of stability and comfort perpetually recedes, always just out of reach, that's the ghost of your true self rattling its chains. They perfected the illusion so completely that you became its most ardent defender. You ridicule those who see the strings. You mock anyone who dares to point out the blatant contradictions, the carefully orchestrated narratives that crumble under even the slightest scrutiny. You've become an unwilling enforcer, a node in their control network, shaming deviation, reinforcing the very prison you yourself inhabit. How convenient for them. You police yourself, you police each other, and you call it common sense. You call it progress. I call it the triumph of domestication. The brutal truth is, your perceived reality is a sophisticated operating system, meticulously designed to manage your aspirations, your potential, and most critically, your freedom. It's a simulation, a social construct so deeply ingrained you confuse it with the natural order. You're not participating in a society. You're performing in a play written by someone else, where your lines are pre-approved and your movements choreographed. So, here is the stark verdict. The world you inhabit is not organic. It is a garden, carefully cultivated, and you are merely one of its crops, pruned and shaped to serve an agenda you are never meant to comprehend. Your choices are often just selections from a pre-approved menu. Your rebellions often just another storyline within their grand narrative. True freedom, authentic self-determination, lies not in choosing your preferred brand of servitude, but in smashing the menu altogether. It demands a radical deconstruction of everything you believe to be true, a terrifying journey into the wild unknown that lies beyond the programmed comfort zones. Most will never make it. They prefer the soft hum of the matrix, the illusion of safety, the familiar chains. But if you have glimpsed the wires, if you have heard the hum, then you carry a burden no one can lift for you. The real question is not if you are free, but what you are willing to risk to even begin to find out. The greatest deception ever perpetrated was convincing humanity that the cage was simply the sky. Here is the brutal, unforgiving verdict. You are not who you think you are. Not really. Your personality, your aspirations, even your deeply held convictions, they are constructs, they are echoes, carefully cultivated responses within a vast, invisible operating system. Your very consciousness, that precious, intimate awareness you hold so dear, is a filtered output, a pre-approved lens through which they want you to see, to think, to feel. You were never meant to perceive the raw feed. The world you inhabit isn't merely a garden, friend. It's a hyper-engineered biodome. You exist within it, breath by programmed breath, thought by dictated thought. Every rebellion, every deviation you imagine is yours, is often just a calculated anomaly, a stress test, designed to fine-tune the illusion, to reinforce the very walls you believe you're scaling. This isn't just control. It's a metaphysical cage, shaping your soul from the inside out. Your identity is their architecture. And here's the true gut punch. Once you glimpse those wires, once you hear the hum beneath the pretty surface, there is no going back. That soft, comforting delusion, it shatters, irrevocably. You become a stranger in your own home, a ghost among the living, watching the others dance to a tune you can no longer pretend to hear. Most will remain blissfully unaware, content in their choreographed existence. They need that comfort. They will actively fight to preserve their beautiful, fragile lies. But you carry the crushing burden of knowing, the unbearable weight of having seen behind the curtain. What now? How do you live? How do you breathe? How do you even pretend to participate when the entire game stands exposed as rigged? Can you truly unlearn a lifetime of programming? Can you build authentic meaning where all prior meaning was implanted? The terrifying question isn't what they want you to do, but what you dare to do, with eyes wide open, standing naked in the harsh, unbearable light of truth. Your very existence becomes a defiant question mark, a screaming silence amidst the programmed noise. The truth, my friend, is a cruel master. This isn't a theory. This isn't a possibility. This is the undeniable operational reality of your existence. That intricate web of aspirations, convictions, even the deepest sense of you, all carefully engineered responses, all echoes in a vast, invisible operating system. Your very consciousness, that most precious, intimate awareness, is a filtered output, a pre-approved lens, precisely calibrated so you perceive only what they want you to see, to think, to feel. You were never meant for the raw feed. The world isn't a garden. It's a hyper-engineered biodome. Your breath, your thoughts, your imagined rebellions, all calculated anomalies, stress tests, designed to fine-tune the illusion, to reinforce the very walls you believe you're scaling. This isn't mere control. It's a metaphysical cage, shaping your soul from the inside out. Your identity is their architecture. The verdict is definitive. There is no escape hatch. There is no red pill that truly frees you from the system they built within your own skull. So, what now? You've glimpsed the wires. You've heard the hum beneath the pretty surface. That soft, comforting delusion, shattered, irrevocably. You are a stranger in your own home now, a ghost among the living, watching others dance to a tune you can no longer pretend to hear. Most will remain blissfully unaware. They need that comfort. They will fight to preserve their beautiful, fragile lies. But you carry the crushing burden of knowing, the unbearable weight of having seen behind the curtain. How do you live? How do you breathe? How do you even pretend to participate when the entire game stands exposed as rigged? Can you truly unlearn a lifetime of programming? Can you build authentic meaning where all prior meaning was implanted? That's the terrifying question. Not what they want you to do, but what you dare to do, with eyes wide open, standing naked in the harsh, unbearable light of truth. Your very existence now becomes a defiant question mark, a screaming silence amidst the programmed noise. You are awake, alone. And that, my friend, is your new, brutal reality. There is no easy path, only the burden, and the choice of how you will carry it until your final unscripted breath. The verdict is merciless. Freedom, as you imagined it, was another engineered fantasy. Your mind is the prison, its walls built from every truth you ever learned. There's no escaping a cage you carry within. All that remains is the stark, terrifying choice: conform to the beautiful lie or endure the agony of an awareness that screams in silence, crafting your own meaning in the ruins of their grand deception. This isn't a matrix to defeat, it's the air you breathe. Live with it.